Hey, hello, friends. I'm David Rice, the founder of igniteDDS, and I'm here with a great friend of mine and executive coach at Fortune Management, Jonathan Miller. Jonathan, how you doing this morning?
I'm great, man. It's a little early for me on the West Coast, but I'm doing great. Good morning.
Yeah, this whole East Coast, West Coast thing is working in my favor presently, so I appreciate you getting up bright and early.
It's okay, man. Happy to do it. I may be taking a little sip of coffee, but all good.
Hey, you got to get your caffeine jolt in. That's all right. So listen, you know our Ignite DDS tribe pretty well, and that we've
hmm
got a slew of dental students who are navigating dental school right now, and we also have a large tribe of young dentists who are trying to navigate pathways to practice. And as an expert in that field of practice transitions and bringing young people into the industry, what main pathways do you see a young dentist taking?
Well, gosh, you really have. It's funny. I don't have that many technically. Coming out, you've got, go be an employee at corporate dentistry or private. Maybe you were lucky enough to work for mom or dad, something like that. Ideally, look to take that over. You can, of course, come out right away and say, I'm going to give you a check. You give me the keys, and I'm going to be practice owner right now. You can go start from scratch, spend $500,000 or so bucks to do it. And takes you about 6 to 9 months to get up and going, doors open and all that. And then I guess, technically you could count military. We've got some doctors in the Fortune Network that came out of the military that had careers there for a long, long time. And so I guess you could go military route as well. But for the most part, that's the wild card. You see the employee route, I'm going to go buy a practice and be an owner route.
No, that's what we see too. And it's interesting because percentage wise, our young dentists are going in every one of those places. So, I know you've been kind enough to offer to do multiple videos with us to really fast track their success. So
Yeah.
today what I want to hone in is on a problem that our dentists who are walking in to an existing practice, either as an employee of a DSO or as an associate more in a traditional practice. And a pain point that we hear all the time, I think I just joined the wrong practice. What do I do
Mm.
now? As it pertains to sort of practice vision and the seasoned dentist or dentist having one and the young dentist walking in with a totally different vision. So what do you do?
Wow. Where do we start?
Big
But
question.
no, I mean, in all honesty, let's focus on your specifics on I'm walking in, I'm going to be an employee. I'm going to be working in this thing and hoping for the best, more or less.
Yeah.
I would stay, I guess I'm going to keep my answer more on that. I'm not really looking to buy right away. Could buying come down the path? Yeah, maybe, but I'm going to focus on employee side, corporate dentistry side. And I'll tell you that, I think one of the biggest challenges is really you're working in someone else's vision, someone else's dream practice. This is their baby, so to speak. And I had to, when I was younger, I had to babysit my siblings and all that, but those weren't my kids. I'm trying to corral. I'm trying to, keep everybody in line. I'm trying to hold on to the reins while my mom was away. And so you're really kind of doing the same thing. And I don't want to say, oh, if you're an employee in a DSO, you're a glorified babysitter. You can make some great money being an employee in a DSO with a lot less headache and a lot less stress than being a practice owner. You being a practice owner yourself, kind of what all that's about. Now, practice ownership has its rewards, and we can go to that in a different video. But in the employee route, I think your biggest challenges are realizing you're for the harsh reality one day that this isn't your thing, this is their thing. And so you kind of need to walk to their music, if you will. You need to kind of do what they say to do. And ultimately, you're working on someone else's patient base. The number one problem I see hit associates kind of right away is these are real live patients. These aren't clinic patients. These aren't patients here for free dentistry kind of things, right? And so all of a sudden, you're sitting there doing everything you've been taught, which is to look in millimeter pockets and identify all the problems going on in Mrs. Jones's mouth. Mrs. Jones has been going there for 15 years, and Dr. Miller didn't really want to tell Mrs. Jones all that stuff because he knows that's scary, and he knows that means it's a large bill. And so you didn't get any of that information from Dr. Miller. You're just doing what you've been trained to do. And you told Mrs. Jones she has perio, she has a couple cracked teeth, she has all this stuff. you ever thought about Invisalign, Mrs. Jones? Oh my God. Now what, right? Because Mrs. Jones is going to tell Dr. Miller, hey, your young hotshot over here tried to tell me I need all work done, and I never heard any of this from you. And so either she's pointing the finger at established Dr. Miller and saying, hey, why didn't you ever tell me this before? Or most likely she's pointing the finger at the young associate and saying, clearly they don't know what the heck they're talking about, because they just tried to tell me I need all this work done, and that couldn't possibly be the case because I've been coming here for 15 years. And you would have told me, Dr. Miller, if I needed it, right? So you get into that real quick. I think that's the number one thing that shocks dentists coming out of school, coming out of GPR, coming out of anything like that. And then from there, you're trying to manage a team that's not yours. And I know that that's not your role as manager, but when the cat's away, the mice will play. That's a Midwest phrase, and I'm from the Midwest, but it's been around for forever, and it's because it's true. So the team is going to start dictating things to you that you may or may not be happy with. They're going to be dictating the kind of dentistry that's happening in the office. They're going to be dictating the patient experience that's going to be happening in the office. They're probably dictating your schedule for the most part. You're trying to get, better hand speed, maybe bigger skill set. And I don't know, you went to a CE course and you're really, really in love with implants, or maybe you have a passion for sleep apnea and you don't get to do any of that stuff because this isn't your practice vision at the end of the day. Do you think that helps with what your crew a lot of?
Yeah, I think, I shouldn't say I think, I know that's what we see all day, every day. That's what I saw, 24 years ago when it was me. You're right. I was essentially cooking in somebody else's kitchen. So
cooking in someone else's kitchen is a great way to put it.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, one of the things that helped me, and love to hear what you're seeing too, is what I knew I could develop if I was a little bit patient and I did more listening as a young dentist than maybe just speaking the jargon I was taught in school or my post-grad program, was to really, listen to what the patients had to say. Because sometimes I was able to develop sort of a practice within the practice. It didn't have control over the big picture vision, but I did have control over my treatment room. I was able to work with my specific dental assistant, and we could, kind of tag team our patient and bring forth to light, like you said, maybe some things that Dr. Miller didn't want to share, was afraid to share for fear of upsetting the patient. So I could slowly bring my vision to one room of the practice at a time. Does that make sense?
I think that's a great way to put it, because you can control what's going on in your operatory, and you should. So usually when we see an associate go into a practice, one of our practices, let's say that we're working with owner doctor, we do like that strategy on partnering them up with an assistant. Because, let's just say, for example, there are 4 or 5 assistants running around. Let's partner them up with an assistant, usually your more seasoned assistant, to make sure that they are delivering to the level that you want, but that they're also adapting to their style. It can't be, it's tough. Dental school is trying to do the best job that they can, but it just can't be robotic. And so you had made the point of, if I didn't just regurgitate some of the jargon I got from dental school and actually listen to how the owner doctor said it, or actually what the patients were saying, we call it ask and show instead of show and tell. So when we're talking about, hey, one of the best things you can do as an associate is earn that patient's trust. You're not typically doing that with show and tell. Here's all the stuff you need, and you need it now, and we got to get it done right away, because they have no idea who you are. And because you're the associate dentist, people really hear that as you're the junior doctor, right? You're the lower level clinician. It's just how it is. But if you can earn their trust and therefore earn their respect, of course, no matter what's going to happen, they're going to want to come back to you and say, hey, I want to see Dr. Rice, the associate doctor. He was great. He was thorough. He was this, he was that. And especially on those new are coming into the fit. If you can earn their trust and their respect, tremendous value to the owner doctor, tremendous value. I mean, it really makes you almost irreplaceable when patients are saying, hey, your associate is great. And the whole point is because put yourself in the owner doctor's shoes, terrified that the associate's going to mess them, terrified they've just more or less given them the keys to the car and they're going to wreck it, ding the door, blow a tire, whatever the case is. And so when patients are now solidifying all these great things about the associate, you're going to earn the owner doctor's respect and gain credibility almost overnight. Naturally, what mostly happens is you don't learn a lot of that ask and show type mentality. You are doing more of that show and tell, and patients are going, I didn't like that new doctor. There seemed really aggressive. They told me I had all this work I needed to be done. They tried to tell me I needed to spend $5,000 in dentistry, and that just, I don't know what kind of operation you guys are running here. Then you will be looking for a new job, and that's unfortunate.
I totally agree. So I want to bring up one more sort of counterpoint where right now what we're really focusing on is the young dentist sort of being seen by the patient as a little too aggressive, or having a different value system, maybe a little money hungry. We hear that a lot. But what happens when the young dentist is knocking it out of the park and the team loves them and the patients love them, and the owner doc starts feeling a little bit left out in the cold?
Oh man, so great question. I've seen this firsthand, and helped the doctor who I talked to about a year before saying, you know what, I'm an associate, I'm doing great things. It was a female doctor, so she was really focused on, work-life balance and, hey, I'm going to do other things besides dentistry in my life, and, and family and kids and all that. But it was great, cool. Ownership isn't for everybody, no problem. And about less than a year later, she calls and says, I got to get out of here. I guess it's not going to work. What happened? Well, I was doing great. Patients were loving me. Team said, gosh, you can leave us alone with her. She's amazing. We couldn't be happier. And so owner doctor absolutely felt left out in the cold. And as soon as associate doctors production started to eclipse owner doctors when you pulled production collection reports, she was out. It was, she didn't actually get, kicked out or fired. What happened was owner doctor just gave her nothing but PO checks and I think maybe hygiene appointments and stuff like that. So that there's no way production could ever be eclipsed again. I think that it really, really goes back to when you walk in to a practice and you're the associate doctor, you need to get the ground rules laid. You need to get, there's a really good book I read over the summer called Principles by Ray Dalio. You need to get the principles of the practice or the core values of the practice down. And this way, when things are trending in that direction, have a candid conversation with owner doctor on, let's talk about how I either am living up to the core values of the practice or I'm not living up to the core values of the practice. My gut tells me is that the owner doctor is getting very emotional about that eclipse the production or that team loving you and trusting you. And of course, patients saying, oh, I'd come see Dr. Rice more. Dr. Miller, you're great, but Dr. Rice is amazing and I'm happy to see him, no problem. It hurts a little bit, right? It's my blood, sweat, and tears that I put into these patients. It hurts a little bit to have them say, nah, I'm good. I don't need that. I'm fine. And so if you're expressing to the owner doctor at that point, hey, let's talk about how I'm not living up to values or the principles of this practice, then I'm all for it. If the doctor is just purely emotional driven and ego driven, honestly, you probably need to start looking for something else, because it's not going to last no matter what you do. It's just ego is a real thing, and I know we can't measure it and quantify it, but we know it's, and when that gets in the way, it's really, really hard to get around that. So that's why I think in the beginning, you kind of lay these ground rules, or I truly believe you need to talk about the core values of the practice. Most practices don't have core values, so that's why laying ground rules makes a little more sense. But if you just get the ground rules at which what's patient supposed to be like, treatment planning wise, what should my case acceptance be? What should my reappointment rate be? Those things. And you can go back and sit down with the owner doctor when they are upset and say, okay, well, let's go to the ground rules that we laid and tell me where I'm missing. And they really can't. Then at least as an associate, that, hey, this is purely emotional driven, and I probably should start looking for something else.
Yeah, that's a great point. So, I mean, I think if you're a young dentist, if you've joined a practice, either in a larger group or a smaller practice, if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I totally joined the rowing team here, what do I do? The first step is to realize what Jonathan's saying. This game is, you're playing in somebody else's game right now, number one. Number two, it's perspective, and you have yours as a young dentist and the owner dentist has theirs. And number three, there's always something to learn, and you always have control over your room, where you have the ability to grow yourself, grow your skills. And at some point you may have to sit back and decide, is this the right practice for me? Can I carry on here and at least take some great lessons with me moving forward somewhere else? Or do I just have to cut bait? Does that sound about right?
It sounds exactly right. And I want to cover this in another call, but have you heard, I'm gonna assume that you've heard this before, but I asked a room full of doctors the other day and they hadn't. I'm gonna ask you to finish this phrase. Perception is blank.
Reality all day.
Yeah, so it was funny to me to see a room full of doctors that had never heard that. In my opinion, one of the biggest problems facing dentistry today is perception.
Yeah.
Another phone call for sure, another video session for sure. But when you're an associate, it's never been more true. The perception that the team has of you, the patients have of you, and the owner doctor have of you are going to be your reality. And that is how the decisions will be made on the future of your career with that practice, whether you like it or not. So I think you're spot on, man.
Perfect. Well, hey, Jonathan, I really appreciate your time today. I love that thought process. What do you say we tackle that one next week?
Yeah, sounds great, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Listen, have a great day. Take a nap, have some more coffee, whatever you need to do. But until next time, guys at Ignite and gals at Ignite, we're here to fast track your success. We're super pumped. Jonathan and I are going to keep coming to you week in and week out and trying to bring you a little practice pearl that makes your day a little bit better. So until next time, remember, together we rise.